All right, this is the seven political essential films by me, David Kolb. I'm Zachary Conan's friend. I would gonna go in no particular order here on how these films are important, not because I believe that there is a best or a lesser, but because each particular film has its own important message. And so thank you for watching, and please just stick around and listen to my babbling, and I appreciate you for that. So the first political film on this essential list is got to be The Wizard of Oz. And the reason why I love it so much is because it's not only an American classic, and it's a film that's iconic, not only for the fact that it's one of the first films, if not the first film, that is in color. So that was a really breakout role in film and cinematography. But what was really phenomenal about The Wizard of Oz was the themes that were part of that. And I would like to start with the Scarecrow, because the Scarecrow is not only the first character Dorothy is introduced to, but it's also the first step into the sort of climate that's happening here in The Wizard of Oz. Scarecrow is like the no brain, right? He's looking and he's trying to find a brain, and really that's about education and the importance and the pivotal role education has in politics. Then you go to the Tin Man, and the Tin Man is no heart, and the heart is representative of the endurance and the fortitude required in having a functional bureaucracy that works for the people. And finally, you have the Lion, and he is representative of the courage and the tenacity needed in order to have a sort of a gusto, a zealousness for political enterprise, and having a political enterprise that works for the people. And those three characters, they have so many different lines, so many different wonderful things to say that really bring out the moral lessons that are needed in politics. And having that sort of political and moral paradigm, I believe, is very important in starting off and understanding politics, particularly American politics today. Finally, you have the big giant green head, which is representative of sort of like the leadership. And what I find interesting about this particular theme in The Wizard of Oz is that is much how political leadership is and has been throughout time, and that is a narcissistic kind of persona that wants to control, and also is cowardly at the same time, right? When it is exposed and reveals to be the fraud that it is. And so that is, I think, the antithesis or the antithetical backdrop to the importance of the journey of the main characters, of Dorothy being the sort of staple standard American, learning about the politics and the political foray, and then having that backdrop, him being almost like the actual villain rather than the witches, which I find a very nuanced thing to say. Malcolm X, directed by Spike Lee in 1992.
Wait, one. Okay, you can go on now. Go on.
Thank you. I'm glad you did that. So
I didn't want your head next to that book.
I appreciate you. Good watching out. So Malcolm X by Spike Lee, directed in 1992. I think that is a pivotal film that needs to be watched by any political I'm losing my words here, by anyone who is concerned in politics. It's autobiographical, and it is showcasing the life and struggle of Malcolm X, and he is probably one of the most important political voices of our modern time, and he's also in the 50s as well, very important, unfortunately, up until his assassination. But that only gave more credit to his particular political narrative, and that is why it's one of those top essentials that need to be watched, not only for the African-American struggle, but the struggle of people of color as well, and that's something that should never be ignored. The Manchurian Candidate filmed in 1962 is also very important for any political theorists or any film buffs that want to watch and understand politics today, particularly because it is about conspiracy theories and how a conspiracy theory can develop and be manipulated by any regimes. And in particular, I enjoyed this film, or enjoyed, I should say, because it was one of those films that not only brought an understanding in how conspiracy theories can be manipulated, but also how they can be used in a very corrupt and incendiary way, which destroys the fabric of our liberties. So that's why this is included in there as well. I'd highly recommend anyone watching that. Then you have A Clockwork Orange by Stanley Kubrick, directed in 1971. That particular film was not only chilling and horrifying, but also it was chilling for the right reasons. And what I mean by that is that it was sort of a historical possibility that would turn into an actuality in the future, potentially, if fascism, particularly a very strong theme in A Clockwork Orange, how fascism grows, how it is institutionalized, how it manipulates and corrupts. And I would highly recommend anyone watch that film if you haven't already, and to really just break down the themes, break down the elements of that particular film, particularly with Alex, the main character's role, and how thuggery can turn into a sort of fascist regime. And that's something that needs to be said. Fritz Lang's Metropolis, directed in 1927, is also an essential film that needs to be watched by any filmophiles. I would highly recommend watching it, particularly because of the thematics, the idea that the industry and the labor force has its own particular political narrative, but also the intelligentsia and how the intelligentsia can operate in the many different fashions that it does, but also particularly paying attention to how the intelligentsia and the working class merge together, and that there is a sense of unity required in developing any sort of politic that helps the American people. And that is why this is included in this list, because of those themes and the fact that they are addressed not only in a very detailed way, but also in a way that doesn't erode or take away from any of the importance of that particular message. So also I'd like to mention Jean Renoir's Rules of the Game as one of these 7 essentials. I watched this with my friend Zach, and I was very blessed with seeing this film because it showcased what oligarchy really looks like. Oligarchy is not necessarily a political position of power or centralization of power, which is focused on trying to control and centralize. It's more about a big party. And I think not in the sense of like a political party, but an actual party. And that's what's amazing about that. It's that it is this deep understanding, an intimate understanding, in fact, of what happens when money is merged and centralized, when institutions start to centralize, and when the corruption starts to turn and grow. And I think that is incredibly important, and understanding any type of politic, any type of political narrative requires us to really understand how corruption happens, and then the ways in which the corruption grows and all of our rights are eroded slowly. The final film for this list, it has to be Charlie Chaplin's The Great Dictator. Filmed in 1945, it is a pivotal film about politics, particularly about leadership and persona and how they're manipulated and used. Charlie Chaplin is impersonating and ridiculing Adolf Hitler in his rise to power. And the speech that follows within that film is one of the greatest speeches of all time. And that is why this is part of that essential list, because of the fact that it is one of the most deeply political and truthful films of our time. There are also some honorable mentions that I would like to list, starting with Blade Runner 2049. I know we usually do the classics, but I feel like the sequel, Blade Runner 2049, was better than the original, and not only better for the fact that it had a sort of a deep understanding of how oligarchy transitions into tyranny, but also for the fact that this particular political film is very new and also nuanced at the same time. Another honorable mention is Fahrenheit 451. That was written originally by Ray Bradbury, but it also had directed by Truffaut. And Truffaut was excellent and superb in his, not only the thematic quality in which he brings to the table, but also the particular political message of how liberties are eroded, in particular how books and self-enlightenment really is destroyed and eroded by those particular tyrannical regimes. This is also Zach's honorable mentions as well. There's 3 of them. We first have Milk by Gus Van Sant. I can't say too much about it because I haven't seen it. I just wanted to mention that, though. I think that's important. You also have Dr. Strangelove by Kubrick and Peter Sellers, and that was directed in 1964. And that particular film I also didn't see, unfortunately, but would recommend you watch. We also have Good Night and Good Luck. That was directed in 2005. And then finally, this is an added on Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee, and that was directed in 1989.
Fight the power.
Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this list, and please subscribe.
It's fine. This is going at the end of the video.
Why?
That's Joey. That's David. Say bye. And hi. This is at the end of the video. No one's even going to see it.
Oh my god.
Say bye, David, and thanks for watching your video.
Bye. Have a beautiful time.